Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. If you're looking to maximize your score for the WSET Level 2 exam in wines, you found the right place. My name is Randy, and we'll be discussing strategies, techniques, and many other helpful hints that I use to study for the test. In this presentation, I'll show you how I maximized my WSET Level 2 exam and achieved a perfect score of 100%. This is part one of a two-part series. In part two, we'll go through a practical learning exercise to help you identify labels. Here's a letter I received from the WSET reflecting my score. In part one, we'll be discussing the benefits of using a WSET approved course, how I use the textbook and workbook, and other outside resources to reinforce my learning. Please keep in mind that using these ideas is not a guarantee of a perfect score, but I hope my insights will help you achieve the level of success you desire and to help you do your best. First, some background. My interest in the wine world started less than 2 years ago. I became interested in accelerating my knowledge in wine and felt taking a WSET course would help me achieve this goal. I started this process by skipping level 1 and jumping directly to level 2. When I started the program, my knowledge of wine was so limited I couldn't even spell Cabernet Sauvignon, let alone pronounce it correctly. Let's look at the different levels of success you can achieve. To pass, 55 to 69%. To pass with merit, 70 to 84%. And to pass with distinction, 85 to 100%. Now let's look at the ways I prepared for the exam. Please keep in mind that I'll be referring to several wine labels and brands by name throughout this video, but none of the wines or the products sponsored me, and I'm merely using them as examples to illustrate my teaching points. Okay, let's get on with the material. The first step is to enroll in an approved WSET program. I made the strategic decision to enroll in an online Level 2 course. I chose to take the online course as opposed to the in-person curriculum because it gave me more flexibility and more time to study at my own pace. The downside of an online course versus the in-person class is that one needs to be disciplined and dedicated to a regular study routine. Now, I understand that sometimes the daily pressures of life, work, and family don't allow for such a schedule. In that case, the intense in-person class may be more appropriate for you. It is doubtful that I could have achieved my score without the flexibility of the online structure. However, if one has substantial industry experience, which I had none, or personal knowledge of the wine world already, which I had very little, then the weekend in-person program may be more appropriate. If you choose to use the online provider, be sure the course includes the following. Again, your course should have live webinars where you can ask questions during and after the presentation. Recorded versions of these same live webinars. I found it helpful to replay the webinars to review information that I might have missed or wasn't totally clear at the time of the initial presentation. Other recorded on-demand presentations. I found it useful to watch other recorded sessions provided by my vendor which would elaborate on the study material. Written study materials. These materials such as flashcards, mock written exam questions, complete hypothetical exams are essential. The provider I use literally had hundreds and hundreds of example questions to study. Administrative support. Although not directly related to the instructional material, I cannot overstate the importance of having someone to support you. The importance of administrative support is not realized until it is needed. And if needed, there are no substitutes for an efficient and customer-friendly back office. Keep in mind the WSET is in the United Kingdom, so if you live outside of the UK, dealing with them can be nearly impossible. That is why having a provider who is experienced with interfacing with the WSET is highly recommended. Here's how such a support system helped me. At the end of the course, the exam is usually taken either remotely at home or in the office. Under the exam protocol, 2 cameras are needed on the day of the exam for surveillance and compliance. One using your laptop or desktop, and the other using your cell phone. I had technology challenges as my phone's software was not compatible with the WSET requirements, so I opted to take the exam in person at my provider's physical location. My provider was instrumental in arranging for an in-person exam date, thereby bypassing any possible technical issues on the day of the exam. Now, we'll turn our attention to the textbook and workbook. The second helpful hint is to study the WSET textbook and workbook intensely. Everything you need to know is within these books. I studied the material by reading both books cover to cover at least twice. When reading the material, I highlighted the most important points of both books and made notes in the textbook whenever I listened to the pre-recorded videos or live webinars. Again, make sure the course you take includes a recorded version of the live webinars. I found the practice exams in the back of the textbook to be especially helpful. In general, I found the material in the textbook to be closely aligned with the exam questions. Here's a glance at my workbook. I went through this so many times, the book actually fell apart. As you can see, many notes in the blank areas and in the margins. Another helpful hint is to read wine magazines and watch YouTube videos. Although not critical to passing the exam, the information found within these magazines helped to build my confidence and add color to my understanding of the different varietals, geographic regions, and characteristics of different wine-making techniques. For example, being a resident of the U.S., I was already familiar with the major AVAs such as Napa Valley, Sonoma Valley, and Santa Barbara County. However, I was totally unfamiliar with most of the wine-producing regions in other countries, such as Australia, France, Italy, and Spain, to name a few. The magazines I usually gravitated to because they were readily accessible to me included the Wine Spectator and the Wine Enthusiast. The articles I found especially interesting were those that focused on the different wine-making territories. If you cannot easily find these magazines, there are many other publications that may be available in your area. As I mentioned before, watching YouTube videos really helped me. I found the information enhanced my understanding of the material, but like the magazines, should not be used as a replacement for the WSET curriculum. The videos I watched included, but were not limited to, those produced by Attorney Somm, Bob Polinsky, Dr. Matthew Horkey, Constantine Baum, The Wine Folly, and No Sediment. Although these YouTubers are not specifically focused on WSET material, their discussion on the types of wine, geography, and wine tasting attributes helped to round out my knowledge. I found their blind wine tasting sessions to be especially entertaining and educational. This concludes part 1 of this 2-part video. If you'd like to receive additional ideas on how to ace the WSET Level 2 exam in wines, or more information on my wine journey, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to future videos. Thank you so much for staying with me.